Salutations, my name is Phil, aka JC Servant, and today we're going to give you the top 10, no, I'll give you 11 reasons why I prefer to play in solo content in City of Heroes Homecoming. And I'm going to put a little asterisk here and say that I also enjoy small groups, but a lot of the arguments I give here, they work well in solo, but they also kind of work well if you're just playing with one or two other people, right? But when you're playing with 4, 6, or heaven forbid, 8, 7 other people, then this is where, you're going to see that these points kind of shine even more and more. At least that's what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking, okay? This is my opinion, and if you don't like it, feel free to tell me what you think in the comments below. If you do like it, tell me what you think in the comments below. I always like to read and respond to the comments or Reddit threads and all that other fun jazz. But my first reason that I like to work solo is, number one, full control over the pace and the flow of the mission, right? When I'm playing alone, I can go as fast or slow as I want without having to discuss it with others or have them hoist it upon me, right? This is very unjarring, especially when you're a new player and everyone's just rushing through missions and you're just trying to figure things out, right? And you want to kill things along the way, but they just want to rush to the end because they've done this 100 million times. When you play alone or you're just playing with one or two other people, of course, it's a lot easier to set that pacing. So that's my first reason. Number two, there's zero downtime waiting for a team. Nothing's worse than just wasting time waiting for a team to come together. Now, this was really bad in games like World of Warcraft, where it would not only take us 20, 30 minutes to form a full team, but then it would take us 20, 30 minutes to run to the dungeon. Thankfully, getting to the dungeon or whatever is pretty fast in City of Heroes, but you still got to sit there and get people together. City of Heroes LFG system is not nearly as good as World of Warcraft Modern system, where you can press a button and keep questing while you're waiting for the group to pull together. Instead, here, you've got to do the hard work. Now, a lot of times, most people won't do that. So we don't have enough people who bring together groups because nobody wants to waste that time. And as a result, we don't run as many groups as we should. But regardless, when you're playing solo, you never have to wait. I log in, I jump into the quest, I get out. Number three, I get the ability to test unfamiliar power sets without pressure. I love playing with new and different power sets. And I've got so many characters that sometimes when I come back around to a character, I've already forgotten exactly how they work. When I'm playing solo, there's no pressure that I have to remember everything or be good at what I do. I can take my time, refamiliarize myself with the powers, and get into that group with that character. Number four, I can see my powers actually work. Now I'm going to quote somebody off of Reddit, and I thought they hit this nail on the head. He said, "I find most ATs, especially controllers, shine better on their own rather than in a team. A controller locks down large mobs and kills groups nearly as fast as they kill a single enemy. In a team, you're lucky to get 1 or 2 powers off before the mob is dead." So basically, I agree with this. The thing is, when you're with a group, everything is dying so fast, you hardly see your powers go to work, especially if you're like a controller. You're like, yay, I locked down 16 people. Oh, wait, they're dead. Okay. If you're a blaster, I hear all the time people say, why do you play Sentinel when blaster can kill a lot more people? Well, sometimes when you're playing a blaster, they're already dead before you get to them because you're trying to hang in the back or whatever have you. Now, you can always ratchet up the difficulty level so that mobs last a little bit longer. You can kind of see those things work. But that's going to lead into another point here shortly. But yes, when you're playing alone or you're just playing with 1 or 2 other people, you can see your powers go to work, and it's really important that they get the work done because your life depends on it, right? If you're playing a controller and your controlling powers don't work in a solo or in 1 or 2 group, you're probably going to be a dead controller. So you can kind of see those work, and you can start to assess what are the good powers and what exactly they do, and maybe which ones you should respec out of. Number 5, cleaner build experimentation with no team carry. Now this, I've already kind of touched on this with number 4, but yeah, it basically means that as I'm going through and I'm experimenting with new builds, I can see exactly how they work, and I can see exactly how effective they are when I'm running by myself or with a small group. It's definitely easier to see those things in action. When you're playing with a large group, you can have a really bad build and your team will just carry you, right? And you never see the problems of your build. So by playing solo, you can work those things out in a much cleaner, scientific type of environment as you see things unfold. Number 6, Story arcs. You get to experience those without the skips or the rush, right? If you're into reading the story, into the lore and things like that, you don't have to have the pressure of like everyone's going go, 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 and you're still on the second paragraph of the 3-paragraph intro to the story arc. You get to read through it and take your time if that's what you want to do. Number 7, easier management of aggro positioning and pulls. Right, now this is a big one. I've run with a lot of groups, and when it comes to like big groups and stuff, it can be hard to coordinate sometimes, especially when you got some people who want to rush forward ahead of others and whatnot, to make sure we're managing aggro properly. Next thing you know, some squishy, usually a newbie, has died in the back because he wasn't keeping up. In a very small group, or when you're playing solo, aggro is being managed much more concisely. I know when I'm running with 1 or 2 other people, I'm keeping a much closer eye on them, and they're keeping a much closer eye on me. But of course, when you're playing solo, you're managing all the aggro yourself, and you're very careful how you pull in solo when you're playing a squishy class. I know I am, and you'll probably see some of that with the Dominator that you see me playing here in the background. I threw on some of that video. So you can see exactly, I tend to be pretty careful how I do my pulls, and I have 1 or 2 emergency AoE powers in my back pocket just in case I miss something. But that's another story. Number 8, consistent difficulty tuning with solo inspirations and team powers. So this one I wrote down here basically means that when you're playing alone, the consistency of the stories. Now, in City of Heroes, let me tell you something. When you do like a level 20 story arc, one story arc can be really like easy in terms of the enemies are blue and white, and another one can have yellows and reds, and there can be some difficulty difference between those 2 story arcs. But if you, for the most part, when you're playing story arcs, assuming for a minute that you're fighting a bunch of whites and yellows, any other story arc you do with whites and yellows, the consistency is going to be pretty similar. From match to match. But when you're playing with a group, particularly a large group, and it's adding more mobs and it's bumping up elite bosses to super villains and all that jazz, the difficulty can be much higher or much lower, completely depending on your team composition and how powerful your teammates are. There's a huge difference to running a mission with, let's say, a couple of friends or a group that are, let's say, just level 20 with you and just using SOs, versus a group that was exemplar down to 20, but they have set bonuses that are attuned and all that jazz. I've seen some of these guys just rush forward and take care of the missions by themselves. They're just so well built and they're so powerful. And it's like, why am I even there? So that mission can be, and I've seen this. In fact, last night we ran a task force, and with one group, it was just practically impossible. We got a couple of different people in the group, about the same number of players, and we absolutely creamed it. When I'm playing solo, a difficult mission is always difficult, and you might see some of that in the background here again. I was just doing this mission just to have some background footage, and I ran into this elite boss that is tough for dominators, and sure enough, I ran to them again, and I knew that fight was going to be tough again. Every time I fought that boss, it's tough for dominators, particularly mental dominators, because it's very consistent. So that's number 8. Number 9. No risk of team wipes from others' mistakes or bad composition. Now, this is kind of the other side of this argument, but yes, if other people make mistakes, it's not just team composition or how many people you have, but if other people just make really bad mistakes, a bad pull or whatever have you, all of a sudden the party wipes out. And the more people you have, the more likely someone can make a mistake. And suddenly, if you're playing like the Blaster in the back or Dominator or whatever, suddenly you got a whole group of enemies that just attacked you from behind because Bob the Builder aggroed an extra pack behind you, right? So you don't have to worry about that. If you die in a solo mission from an enemy pack attacking from behind, it was probably your fault for not catching them. Reason number 10. This is a personal. All these reasons, by the way, are personal, by the way. I don't want this to sound like gospel truth. Number 10, I'm an introvert. I know that's hard to believe. I talk a lot and I do YouTube videos. But what that means is I really, really enjoy just having conversations with 1 or 2 other people. But if it's a room full of lots of other people, I find it draining. Not to mention, when you're in a large group, it's hard to get a word in edgewise, right? So if you don't mind sitting there listening to other people talk nonstop, that's great, but you can't get a word edgewise. So I just like a nice quiet evening, maybe with 1 or 2 friends, maybe by myself, and a beer or a cup of coffee or something, and just go out and kill things without hearing a lot of people talking pretty much all at once. But that's just me. Yeah, I find it draining. I definitely have friends who find it more energizing. The extroverts out there feed off of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Number 11. This is a bonus one, I guess. Immediate entry into any content regardless of the player population, right? One thing I often hear when I talk about City of Heroes to new people is like, well, is it still populated? I don't want to feel like I can't do anything if there's no one there. That's why I don't go to, this server, that server, I want the busiest server so I can basically have the best chance to access, the content, the group content, and whatever. So, when I should say any content, I should say any soloable content. But an Ouroboros has a ton of things you can do solo, just by itself. But yes, when I get on, because I am focused on Ouroboros, flashbacks, storylines, and solo content, story arcs, it doesn't matter to me how populated the server is. It could be dead. That's why I played on Reunion even after our guild fell apart there, or SG fell apart. It was pretty quiet on Reunion. Reunion's always been a quiet server. It didn't bug me none because I'm just in there to do my thing anyway. So the player population, I can go in there at night or early in the morning when player population is down, and I can always get done the objectives I have in my head. I'm a very goal-oriented person, so I like knowing that when I log in, I'm going to be able to accomplish whatever I set my mind to, whatever I want to do. Because when you're soloing, you don't have to wait on other people or hope that the server is populated. So this is a bonus one. Reason number 12, one of the most important reasons of all. I can totally play my energy characters without someone being upset that I'm doing a ton of knockback. I love knockback. I love ragdoll physics. I play Muso games and other games where I can fling enemies left and right and all over the board. It is so much fun. It makes you feel so powerful. It feels so kinetic. Even like in Earth Defense Force, when an insect grabs me and flings me across the board in ragdoll physics, I enjoy it because I think it's hilarious. But I enjoy knockback, and I enjoy those kinds of physics on enemies. Don't get me wrong, I like knockdown as well, and I have that on certain characters and whatever have you. But I feel like if you're not doing knockback at all because you're worried about offending team members, you're missing out on some fun. Thankfully, there is solo, and in solo, no one cares how far you knock enemies back. You can do that all day long until your heart's content, and it is so much fun. I highly recommend it. But those are it. That's my, I thought I was going to start with 10, but now we got 12 reasons why I enjoy soloing and or doing small groups. What about you? Do you like to solo? If so, why? If you don't and you don't agree with any of this, you can also share your thoughts in the comments below or on a Reddit thread or whatever have you. But I like hearing from everybody. I always enjoy these conversations. I enjoy being part of this community. Thank all of you so much. I really appreciate you watching the video today. And I hope you have a fabulous day in City of Heroes. Until next time, may God bless you.